That there's a confidence gap between men and women probably won't surprise too many people, unfortunately. But what is surprising, according to a recent study in the Journal of Personality and Psychology, is that the gender confidence gap is more pronounced in industrialized Western societies like the U.S. than it is in non-Western developing countries. Best-selling author Margie Warrell is here to discuss, as well as share ways women can bridge that gap. Welcome, Margie. So great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Can you tell us, are there any theories as to why this gender confidence gap is more pronounced in developed countries than undeveloped countries? Because you think it would be the reverse.
Yeah, absolutely you would, which was what makes it so interesting. You know, I think what we speculate is that women in countries like the US or Australia tend to compare themselves more with men. And men still hold the balance of power. You know we have about 5% of women who are the CEOs of S&P 500 companies. So I think we tend to make more negative comparisons. We aren't as powerful, we don't earn as much, we don't have as much influence. And so I think that tends to drive that lack of confidence.
And so the theory follows that in the non-developing countries, women tend to compare themselves to other women rather than to men.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And because other women are all in that, they're all of them are disempowered, right? All of them are kind of yet to find that it tends not to impact confidence.
That is so fascinating. So how then does this play out? What are some of the disadvantages, obviously?
Yeah, well, look, a lack of confidence, I mean, confidence is our belief in our ability to succeed at something. And so when we lack confidence, we tend to be more risk averse. We tend to not speak up in a meeting and put our opinion forward. We tend not to put a hand up and say, hey, I'd love to have that bigger job, which has more responsibility. We tend to, hold back from taking risks even in our careers. We stick with what we know we're going to succeed at. Right. And, even in terms of women tend to struggle more, I think, even with imposter syndrome, that at some point people will realise I don't know as much as they think. And all of that, I think, can hold us back from taking the actions that would allow people to see we are more capable, but also for ourselves, because confidence builds confidence.
Absolutely. And you make the point that this is a multifaceted issue and it needs to be approached as such. But what are some of the concrete steps that women can take? What are some of the ways that they can empower themselves to take those greater risks?
Yeah, there's obviously a whole host of different things we can do depending on where we are in our careers, in the opportunities available to us. So firstly, I think it's really important not to use language that disempowers us, because women, for instance, apologise more before they say something than men do. We tend to engage in what's called double voice discourse. So before we express an opinion, we'll say something like, oh, look, I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, I might have this wrong, but I'm just wondering if maybe we should consider
rather than just making the statement.
Yeah, and so we totally undermine our opinion before we've even expressed our opinion. So that in itself, it can hold us back. So I think women have to just own your right to have an opinion and speak up.
And how can we own our value? How can we know and own our value?
Yeah, and so what we also tend to do is we tend to compare our weaknesses with other people's strengths. So, we'll look at what we're not good at and go, oh, but she's brilliant at strategy, or she's brilliant at finance, or she's brilliant at presenting, or whatever the case may be, versus going, this is the things that I'm excellent at, I really excel at. And yes, I could be better, but this is what I'm good at. And so to really own our strengths and own that value, because so often we talk ourselves down and we go, oh, in that way, we sort of diminish that value.
Absolutely. And so we should actively then pursue challenges, things that will stretch our abilities.
Well, I think of it in terms of a lack of confidence is also drives timidity, right? And so we have to be brave. We have to take the risk and sometimes act in ways that are uncomfortable. We mightn't be really sure we're going to succeed. We have to go, you know what, I don't have 10 out of 10 things that I want to have in order to put my hand up for this job, but you know what, I'm going to step forward anyway. And so that's where I think taking on stretch challenges, when we take on those challenges, that allows us to build more skills, to realise actually we do have what it takes. Because often men will put their hand up for a role where they've got 5 out of the 10 things they're looking for and go, hey, I'll figure it out, I'll learn what I can, I'll wing it, Women sometimes
I'll wing it.
go,
that's a bit,
I'll just wait until we're perfectionists. So I think we need to go, I don't have to know everything, I don't have to be perfect at everything. I'm going to put myself forward, and in that way, courage is like a muscle. The more often we act bravely and with the confidence we wish we had, the more we build it. And so I just say to everybody when I go out and speak and and talk to women is just do the very thing that you're afraid of and see what comes.
I love that. Courage is like a muscle. Margie Warrell, thank you so much for that. Really great talking to you.
Pleasure.